If you're thinking about moving to Plainsboro, New Jersey, there are a few things you need to know before you start house hunting. I'm breaking down the top things you need to know about moving to Plainsboro so you can understand what actually drives demand, pricing, and competition here. Welcome to the Wilton Report. I am Josh Wilton, and I co-own and run the #1 boutique real estate company in Central New Jersey and Princeton. And I've helped thousands of people buy and sell real estate, and I use that experience to help you make smarter decisions. So by the end of this video, you'll know whether Plainsboro fits your commute, your budget, and your long-term housing plan. But first things first, we're going to talk about the schools. So if you are living under a rock in Central New Jersey, right, you don't know about the West Windsor-Plainsboro North and the West Windsor-Plainsboro South Regional School District. At any given moment in space, it's one of the top 2 school districts in the state of New Jersey. And if you don't think that drives demand, again, just let me know what rock you're under. I'll crawl under there with you. So again, most Plainsboro students, right, attend West Windsor High School North. West Windsor-Plainsboro South is more geared towards the West Windsor district. So both high schools are elite. Both high schools rank very well in the state rankings in the state of New Jersey. I think North, you can say, is perceived to have more of a STEM focus than South. But again, they both have a shared SAT score average 1,400, which is really incredible. So that puts the average student at West Windsor-Plainsboro North or South right on the cusp of very elite college admissions programs. So again, it is an amazing school district. It has a Town Center Elementary. It has Wyckoff Elementary, which are the elementary schools in the district. So it's one of the more elite school districts in the state of New Jersey, if not the East Coast, if not the entire country. And people definitively move to Plainsboro for that school district. One of the other things, too, that Plainsboro has that many surrounding towns don't and are trying to emulate, and I would say have successfully been emulating, it does have a town center. Now, when I moved here a gazillion years ago and walked uphill, barefoot in the snow to school, it didn't have a town center. There was really nothing there. Plainsboro designed it and built it, and it's called Plainsboro Town Center or Plainsboro Village. And it has a main street with businesses. So it's got a yoga studio. It's right next to the Plainsboro Public Library, which if you've never been and you want to get a sense of what the priorities of the town are, go to the town's public library. It's massive. It's beautiful. It's state of the art. And you have everything from a Panera and Five Guys to Hero Asian Bistro, which I'm not going to lie, I like a lot, unfortunately for my waistline. But it has a community feel. It has a town center. It's got parking. You can go there. It has concerts. So it's got a little bit more of a defined town center than West Windsor traditionally has, even though they are building that out as we speak. So Plainsboro looked at Princeton probably and said, you know what? We want our own town center. And they literally built it. It's got housing, it's got apartments, it's got retail, all right in the bustling town center, the village of Plainsboro. The other thing you're going to hear a lot about moving to Plainsboro is I have a Princeton mailing address. It doesn't really matter. So, 50% of Plainsboro has an 08540 mailing address, which is a Princeton mailing address. It does not mean that you live in Princeton. It means you live in Plainsboro with a Princeton mailing address. I never understood if people really actually paid more for a Princeton mailing address versus a Plainsboro mailing address. I would tell you, I don't think so, because the net is the same. But again, the other thing that's interesting about Plainsboro, it shares a school district with West Windsor, which is in Mercer County. Plainsboro is in Middlesex County. So what does that mean? If you get called up for jury duty and you live in Plainsboro, it's Middlesex County. In Mercer County, it's West Windsor, it's Mercer County. So again, it has to do with your county taxes. It has to do where you go for social services. It has to do with the public park system that you have access to as a resident of the county. The golf courses are different in Plainsboro, in Middlesex County, the public courses than in West Windsor. So again, probably half the community has a Princeton mailing address. I would say the biggest point of confusion is that people just kind of think that Plainsboro is more or less part of Mercer County because of the conjoined school district with West Windsor. It's not. It's part of Middlesex County. So it does have different social services and everything else. The one thing I'll tell you about Plainsboro, and it's an economic machine, it's a school machine, traditionally has had more apartment and condo density than, let's say, its neighbor West Windsor, because I think, they're coupled together so often. So it traditionally has a higher percentage of renters and condo owners than West Windsor. That has changed dramatically with all the building around the train station in West Windsor. So there is a massive area of town called Princeton Meadows, a huge apartment density to the tune of hundreds of condos and apartments. So again, what does that mean? I would say that traditionally, Plainsboro was a great place for people to start on the rental ladder or on the condo ladder, on the home equity ladder, and move up. So it might lend itself to a younger demographic. I would say that a lot of those apartments don't seem to come to sale that much right now, those condos. People have hung on to them as good investments because the reality is people want to live there. It's got a good school district. It's very commutable. It's close to the Princeton Junction train station. It's close to the turnpike. So it lends itself to a great place to live. Plainsboro, too, is a huge job center. So, like in New York, they say finance bro. I would say in Plainsboro, it's the pharma bro that lives and works in Plainsboro. And it's not bros, it's gals. We have a lot of customers who are at Bristol Myers Squibb, Novo Nordisk, the Princeton Plasma Physics Lab, which is an affiliate of the university, is in Plainsboro. So Princeton University has a campus in Plainsboro. So it is a huge corridor. I just did a podcast with a commercial expert who was talking about the investment that's being made in the Plainsboro market, which is considered the greater Princeton market. And again, people are moving in there in droves in terms of the commercial side, which is going to bring people in on the residential side. So Plainsboro is an engine of the local economy. It has, I think, probably some of the biggest corporate parks in the area. So what does that mean? It means it's a desirable place to live. Good schools, access to jobs, access to transportation, keeps high demand on the market. So again, you can live and work within 5 miles of each other right in Plainsboro. You never have to leave the municipality in some part. Interestingly enough, despite all the hustle and bustle of Plainsboro, it has one of the more famous preserves in the area. It's called, unsurprisingly, the Plainsboro Preserve. It's over 1,000 acres and it's undisturbed. It's relatively raw. There are walking trails and walking paths. It is beautiful. If you want to get lost in nature for a day, I highly recommend getting over to the Plainsboro Preserve. They have a bald eagle population that lives in the Plainsboro Preserve. You can see them soaring out over Carnegie Lake. However, that part of Carnegie Lake abuts Plainsboro, which is where the bald eagles live. So it is absolutely beautiful. Like I said, it's over 1,000 acres of preserved land. And the interesting thing too, whereas West Windsor is very train dependent, I would say the Plainsboro residents, when you move to Plainsboro, and if you're commuting, you have options. There is a shuttle that runs from Plainsboro to the West Windsor train station. It can take anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes, right? But there is a shuttle. So there's a 600 bus or the Princeton Junction shuttle to the train station, which is easy to do, relatively inexpensive. However, just because Plainsboro is a little bit more eastward than West Windsor, it's closer to the turnpike. So you do see a higher percentage of people driving from Plainsboro, taking the bus from Plainsboro. So again, it's right by exit 8A on the turnpike. So you do see a high level of commuting. But again, the benefit of living in Plainsboro is that if you're part of the, that corporate culture that works in Plainsboro, you may never leave the town of Plainsboro to go to work. You may get up, go to work, and go home and still never leave the township of Plainsboro. So, there's a lot to offer about Plainsboro Township. If it is on your short list to buy, the key is understanding what makes it different. It's not as historic as Lawrenceville. It's not as train-centered as Princeton Junction. And it's not priced like Princeton. Not a bargain, but it's not exactly priced like Princeton. It's a very structured, commuter-driven, school-focused, corporate-dominant town, which is one of the most strategic and, I think, interesting towns to live and work in central New Jersey. Again, thank you for tuning in. My name is Josh Wilton, and this is the Wilton Report, and I'll see you next time.